Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rick Reinhardt, and this is another episode of the good old fashioned Philly Wrestling Podcast. And we are here tonight in Philadelphia, and we have just witnessed another episode of AEW's Dynamite. And I gotta say, this has been one of the best shows uh, tonight out of all the AEW shows. And I'm starting to see the roster take place. I want to talk about MJF real quick. MJF has slowly but surely, not slowly but surely, but very quickly become one of the best heels in wrestling today, if not the best, and is blossoming into a superstar right now in AEW. I haven't seen a guy who comes out here and trashes the crowd like that in a long time, and not to mention he's so quick witted with what he's saying that you can tell that he's just on the fly coming up with some of this stuff, and he's just hitting a home run right now, grand slam. Now, somebody else who I want to talk about on this show is the Hangman Adam Page. Adam Page has been crushing it in the ring, and his gimmick and his look, it's going over. He's a classic style wrestler. It's been very cool to see him coming into his own as well. I want to talk about Chris Statlander, who I did not see on the show. I did tune in 10 minutes late tonight, so I got a late start on the show. I don't know if she was on the show or not, but Chris Statlander left a serious impression on me. At first, I was kind of, a little like, what's up with this name? I know AEW's, doing the stats thing, but when I first heard the name, I wasn't really that impressed. But then when I saw her wrestle and I saw her demeanor and I saw her intensity level, she's a badass woman. So, Chris Statlander, we wish you all the success here at the Pro Wrestling Archives. I also want to talk a little bit about some other people who I see, doing their thing. Kenny Omega, how do I say this? I was not totally sold or convinced on his whole thing until this week. And when I saw him in the ring this week, I said, "Oh, this guy's really got it." And I know I might be a little late saying that because I know he's been around a long time and he's considered one of the best wrestlers in the world. But I saw it tonight, and I saw what he's about. It's pretty cool stuff. I'm gonna check something out real quick. I'll be right back with you. I also want to bring up Chris Jericho because Chris Jericho not only has come into his legendary status, but his heel tactics are really blowing my mind with some of the stuff that he's doing. And it's nice seeing the little things like they took over the commentators table tonight. We haven't seen anything quite like that since the NWO. And I think Jericho is really just going through all the, all the stuff all the tricks he's got in his hat, or up his sleeve or whatever. And it's pretty cool to see. It's pretty cool to see. Chris Jericho, who's obviously from a different generation than some of these younger guys, is basically like a bully in the schoolyard with some of these guys, and it's going over real well. I think Chris Jericho is getting his spot in, professional wrestling the way he's probably always foresaw himself to be, and I'm happy for the guy. The Young Bucks tonight with a great match and some great moves. Thank God hardcore wrestling is still doing its thing and evolving. It's very, very cool to see. I can't say enough good things about the overall wrestling tonight. I didn't really understand the Tully Blanchard Janela angle. Like, why have the guy tied up if you're just gonna let him go like that and be uneventful like that? I didn't understand that, but maybe there's more to come with all that. I don't know. So yeah, some great women's wrestling tonight. I was very blown away with that, and to see how that's evolving in AEW. At first I wasn't really stoked about how AEW was doing some of the stuff that the WWE has been doing, but now I'm starting to see it from another perspective, as in the women's wrestling and some of the hardcore moves and some of you know the circus like behavior. At first, I didn't get it, but now I'm starting to get it. They are toe to toe with the biggest wrestling company in the world today, the World Wrestling Entertainment, and they are not only toe to toe, but they are putting on a display of how to evolve. It keeps coming back to that word, evolve. Paul Heyman said it down at the ECW arena, and now that it seems like pro wrestling is officially back, that it's going to keep evolving and keep flowing, and new chapters are going to continue to be written. And it's a very, very exciting time to be a pro wrestling fan. It's a very exciting time to be in the business. It's a very exciting time to, be a fan of TV. Like, one of the things that I've missed so much over the last decade or longer is the fact that I felt like TV went into a little bit of a hole. The last show I remember watching where I was really into was The Entourage. And the Curb Your Enthusiasm comeback, which was cool, but it was a little uneventful. It was funny, but it wasn't, as great as the original seasons of Curb Your Enthusiasm. So just being able to turn on the TV, know that you're going to get something good, got something to look forward to during the week. Last night I was out and about, and all I could think about was, Wednesday's coming, AEW is going to be on. So that's very, very exciting. Very, very exciting. I was able to catch the highlights of Raw this week. I was not able to check out the whole show, but it seems like the Bobby Lashley angle is just getting funnier and funnier, and I personally, I like it. I like what's going on with it. I know a lot of people have been giving the WWE a lot of crap with that, but Bobby Lashley to me is hysterical with some of the stuff he's doing. I mean, not only did he take the dude's girl and now they're getting married, but that wasn't enough. He had to beat him up. he had to he had to mess him up a little bit. And I just thought that was a really over the top kind of funny thing that they were doing. I hope that the WWE continues. Not only what they're doing, but I hope that they also keep evolving in new ways. And I'm seeing that with the booking. There's been a lot of cool new matches that have been happening, and I think that that's great. I think that there's many great matches to have with a great roster like that, and I'm hoping that Vince and the WWE is able to really capitalize on this new surge that is being put into pro wrestling by everybody, and I hope that the WWE is able to see what AEW is doing and then be able to do things in a way that can elevate their product. And I think that it's starting, but it's a slow process, and I can respect that. I appreciate that the WWE is the kind of company that gets themselves into position before they go for the throat. So there's a lot going on here, and I gotta say, I was a fan of Nitro back in the day with WCW, and I was always more of a WWF WWE guy. So now it's kind of like I forgot how much I loved watching Nitro and seeing that different kind of southern flair of pro wrestling, and just being able to just tune in to Dynamite every week has just really been a real treat and a real exciting thing that I did not see coming. It's always great to be surprised by things, and it's always great to have a pleasant surprise. So AEW is doing that for me right now. And with WWE, I think it's more like I'm seeing them get into position with the kind of, they're setting up for another classic run. And I see it coming because I remember when the Attitude Era, when WWF at the time started coming back, I saw how that all happened. And I see how that could all happen again, and I think that that's what they're doing right now. Is it's like when you're in a football game and you're all the way down by like let's say the 5 or the 10 yard line and you got to make it all the way across the field. It seems like Vince now is slowly but surely picking up yardage, and it's really really fascinating stuff to be watching right now. I also want to give a shout out to CCW. They had a lot of good shows last week. We're seeing a lot of guys there. We're seeing a lot of good booking going on there, and we're seeing how different guys can work with different guys. And I'm hoping that CCW and like MLW and NWA and some of these other federations are able to also get involved in this gigantic resurgence of pro wrestling on TV. I'm hoping, because I know for a fact guys like the Pony Express and Rob Noxious and these guys, they're ready for TV. I've seen it. These guys can really go. So people like the Sexy Psycho, Adrian Bliss, and Mr. Ping, these guys are absolutely ready. I hope that they are called up to duty. You know what I'm saying? This is another episode of the Good Old Fashioned Philly Wrestling Podcast. My name is Rick Reinhardt, saying good night.